A simple woman was ridiculed at a boxing gym, until her very first punch dropped the main fighter to the ground, leaving the entire gym speechless. That punch didn't just land on a jaw, it cracked open every false assumption about her. But to understand the weight behind it, you need to know what led to that moment. Because before the shock, before the silence, there was humiliation. Raw, bitter, and public. She walked in wearing worn-out sneakers and a hoodie 2 sizes too big. No makeup. No pretense. Just the quiet confidence of someone who had been through worse than stares and whispers. She wasn't there to impress anyone, just to train, to find something she had lost years ago. But the moment she reached for the heavy bag, the air changed. A tall guy, covered in tattoos and arrogance, blocked her hand with his glove and smirked like he was doing the gym a favor. "You might want to leave that for someone who actually knows what they're doing," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. He turned to the others and added with a laugh, "Or at least someone who's punched something other than a clock." The room broke out in laughter. She stood still, heat rushing to her face, her fingers trembling, not from fear, but from something deeper. Rage. Shame. Memory. Not one person stood up for her. Not the coach. Not the others who had seen her watching silently from the corner for weeks. All they saw was a woman out of place. Someone who didn't belong. Someone weak. But she didn't leave. She wrapped her hands in silence and stared at that bag like it had said something personal. What they didn't know, what none of them could possibly guess, is that she wasn't new to this. Once, a long time ago, before life knocked her down harder than any opponent could, she had been a name. A rising star. A fighter with purpose. And she had buried that past deep, far away from this version of herself. Until that moment. Because when they laughed, they didn't just insult a woman, they awakened a fighter. So when she finally stepped in the ring, invited as a joke, offered the chance to prove them wrong, no one took her seriously. Not even him, the top fighter of the gym. Until her first punch connected. And the silence that followed was louder than any applause. But what really happened to her before she came to that gym? What secret was she hiding all along that made that punch so much more than just a lucky hit? And why, despite everything, did she almost walk away before showing the world who she really was? You'll have to stay until the end to find out. Before we dive in, we wish you a truly great story ahead, one that'll move you, shake you, and stay with you long after it ends. If you're into stories of transformation, justice, and redemption, don't forget to subscribe to Hope Threads. Let's begin. Her name was Lauren. 33 years old, born and raised in a small suburb outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where row homes stood shoulder to shoulder like worn-out soldiers and people kept to their own business unless someone crossed the line. She had the kind of face you'd pass on the street without remembering, plain, pale, lightly freckled, with eyes that always seemed to be carrying something just beneath the surface. Not sadness. Not anger. Just, wait. She worked nights at a diner near the river, pouring coffee for construction crews and police officers who never noticed the woman behind the uniform. She had a rhythm to her days, sleeping through the light, walking in shadows, taking the long way home out of habit, not necessity. She didn't talk much. Didn't go out. No one really asked where she came from or why she flinched when strangers raised their voice. And she liked it that way. The neighborhood had changed a lot since she was a kid. Gentrification came slow and loud, like a storm with gold paint. The boxing gym on 12th and Carson was one of those changes, a raw, industrial-style place that looked like it had been ripped from an underground fight movie. It wasn't fancy. Exposed brick, metal pipes, the sour smell of old sweat and new ambition. It had become a magnet for a certain kind of person, people chasing something. Recognition. Discipline. Violence. For many, it was a place to prove they mattered. For others, it was a last chance to get their lives in order. For Lauren, it was neither. She started showing up 3 weeks before everything changed. Always quiet, always early. She'd sit on the bench near the entrance, watching. Not judging, not recording, just watching. Her eyes tracked the routines, the patterns, the coaches barking orders, the fighters trash-talking each other between rounds. She noticed the tall one, Travis. Handsome in a rugged, exhausted kind of way, mid-30s, full of tattoos and ego, the gym's unofficial king. He had a fast jab and a big mouth. He liked the spotlight. He liked making examples. And he especially liked being feared. Then there was Mike, the owner and head coach. A former amateur boxer turned local legend, he had once been known for training a state champion, but that was years ago. Now he ran the gym like a stubborn father who never learned to apologize, old school, loud, but not unkind. His rules were simple: respect the ring, respect the grind, don't waste his time. Most days, he just wanted people to pay their dues and follow the hierarchy. In his mind, Lauren didn't fit. She didn't have the look, the drive, or the backstory he could sell. But she kept showing up, and so he let her watch, for a while. The other fighters had their own orbits. A kid named Jamal, 17, quick feet and too much pride. A girl called Bree, muscular and sharp-tongued, training for the Golden Gloves. And Theo, an ex-Marine who never smiled and hit the bag like it owed him something. The gym was its own little universe of pain and progress, filled with unspoken rules and lines that weren't meant to be crossed. Lauren knew that. She didn't want to stand out. She just wanted to remember who she used to be, maybe reclaim a piece of it in the silence of the bags, the rhythm of the ropes. She finally approached the front desk after nearly a month. Mike looked up from his clipboard, chewing on a toothpick like it was a challenge. "You want to train?" he asked, more amused than curious. Lauren nodded. He looked her over. "You ever boxed before?" She hesitated. "Not officially," she said. He shrugged. "You got cash?" She handed over a crumpled envelope, every bill flattened and clean. He grunted. "All right. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. You clean up after." She nodded and started the next day. No one welcomed her. No one talked to her unless necessary. She stretched in the corner and mimicked what she saw. Her movements were tight, calculated, careful. She kept her head down. But people noticed. Not because she was good, but because she didn't quit. And because she didn't laugh when others did. There's something unsettling about someone who doesn't try to fit in. People don't know where to place them, so they push them out. One morning, Travis saw her wrapping her hands by the bag near his station. His lips curled into a grin. "Hey," he called out, voice loud and mocking. "You might want to leave that one to someone who actually knows what they're doing." His buddies chuckled. He kept going. "Wouldn't want you to break a nail. Or your arm." The room laughed harder. She froze, mid-rap. The laughter wasn't cruel, it was dismissive. Like a pat on the head that said, "You don't matter here." She didn't look at him. She didn't say a word. Just finished rapping and turned to face the bag. Travis stepped closer. "You deaf?" I said, "That bag's for fighters. Not tourists." Mike glanced up from the office window but didn't interfere. It wasn't personal, it was just gym culture. Sink or swim. Lauren exhaled and hit the bag once. Not hard. Not showy. Just one clean jab. Then she walked to the corner and started skipping rope. The humiliation didn't stop there. Over the next week, people started whispering when she walked in. They'd mimic her stance when her back was turned, snort when she shadowboxed. No one offered help. No one sparred with her. She was alone in a room full of people chasing power, and no one cared if she made it. That's the thing about places like this, if you don't fight for space, it gets taken from you. And yet, she kept coming. Every day, same time, same quiet focus. She'd wrap her hands, stretch, train, and leave. She never stayed to chat. Never responded to the snide comments. She trained like someone who owed the world nothing, and owed herself everything. Mike started noticing little things. The way she kept perfect balance. The way she breathed through her nose when she hit the bag, not out of breath, but controlled. The way her footwork stayed consistent, tight, efficient. It wasn't flashy, but it was familiar. He'd seen that kind of discipline before. Not from beginners. One Friday afternoon, while everyone was cooling down, Travis tossed his gloves on the bench near her and grinned. "You know, you should try Pilates. Might be more your speed." The others laughed. Lauren stood, sweat on her brow, gloves in hand. She looked at him, not with anger, but something else. Calm. Certain. He raised an eyebrow. "What? You got something to prove?" She didn't respond. Mike stepped in from the side, curious. "You two want to settle something, do it right. In the ring. Tomorrow morning." The gym got quiet. Travis laughed. "You serious?" Mike nodded. "You say she doesn't belong. Let's see." Everyone expected her to back out. To laugh it off. To disappear. But the next morning, she showed up at dawn. There, inside that ring, with the whole gym watching, Lauren wasn't just stepping into a fight, she was stepping into something deeper. Something personal. Something buried. The ropes weren't just boundaries, they were memory lines. And across from her stood the very embodiment of everything that had tried to silence her before. But no one knew that yet. To them, she was just the quiet girl who didn't belong. And that was exactly what made her dangerous. The gym was unusually quiet that morning. Not the kind of quiet that came from emptiness, but the heavy, anticipatory hush that filled a room when people knew something was about to happen. Every glove tied. Every bench leaned on. Every eye fixed on the ring. Travis stood there already, pacing like a caged animal, jaw tight, bouncing slightly on the balls of his feet. The smirk was still there, but dimmer. Faintly forced. Across from him, Lauren was climbing between the ropes without fanfare, pulling down the strap of her gloves, jaw locked, eyes set on nothing but the center of the ring. No nerves. No shaking. Only breath, steady, deep, practiced. Mike stood at the edge of the ring, arms folded, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes now. He hadn't expected her to show up again after calling the match. But she had. And not just that, she looked like someone who'd already played this scene in her head 100 times. Calm didn't usually look like that. Calm didn't carry that much history. Travis didn't wait for the bell. "So," he said, with that condescending drawl, "you finally get your 5 minutes, huh? That what this is?" He leaned in a little closer, gloves resting on the top rope, voice lower now. "You sure you want to do this? One punch and you're gonna wish you'd stayed in your corner." Lauren didn't respond, didn't even blink. Her silence was the kind that scratched under people's skin. Travis rolled his eyes and stepped back. The first round was messy. He jabbed fast, testing her, laughing between punches that never landed. She barely moved, slipping to the side, blocking, parrying with minimal effort. It wasn't fear. It was calculation. Precision. She wasn't trying to win yet. She was studying him. Waiting. Watching. The others around the ring shouted half-hearted encouragements, unsure which side of this they were on anymore. And Mike watched too, arms still folded, eyes narrowing every time she adjusted her stance like someone who had muscle memory she wasn't supposed to have. The second round started sharper. Travis came in harder now, annoyed by her lack of reaction. He landed a body shot. She stepped back. Another jab grazed her cheek. Her expression didn't change. Then, finally, she moved in. Quick. Low. One clean hook to his ribs and a step back so fast it left him turning. A few people flinched. He smiled wide now, a flash of teeth and arrogance. "Okay," he said, "so you do know how to hit." He laughed. "Where'd you learn that?" "Self-defense class at the YMCA." She still didn't answer. But the way she stood now, shoulders squared, breath even, feet perfectly planted, everything about her body said I've been here before. That's when Mike stepped closer to the ring, squinting, something shifting behind his eyes. By the third round, the tone had changed completely. Travis was sweating more than he should have. Lauren hadn't even sat down during the break. She didn't need advice. She didn't need encouragement. She just stared across the ring like the past was standing in front of her. When the bell rang again, she moved first. Not wild. Not reckless. Just exact. She dodged, ducked, 2 quick jabs to his face, followed by a right that snapped his head back. Gasps rippled through the gym. Not because she landed it, but because she did it so clean. Travis was furious now. His pride louder than his breathing. He charged forward with a flurry of punches meant more to intimidate than land. She blocked most of them. The ones that got through, she absorbed without breaking rhythm. And then it happened, he opened just wide enough, his right hand thrown too high. She ducked. Slid in. One short, tight uppercut to his chin. His legs folded beneath him like he'd forgotten how to stand. The gym went still. For a full 10 seconds, no one moved. Travis was on the ground. Breathing. Eyes blinking in slow, stunned confusion. And Lauren just stood there, arms down, chest rising and falling with quiet power. Someone in the back whispered, "What the hell just happened?" Mike's voice broke through the silence. "That's not beginner technique." Lauren looked at him now for the first time. Her voice, low and even, cut through the room. "It's not." He stepped closer. "Who are you?" The question wasn't asked out of curiosity anymore, it was concern. Doubt. Recognition, maybe. She glanced at Travis still trying to get up, then back at Mike. "I used to train. A long time ago." Mike stared at her, eyes narrowed. "Where?" She exhaled slowly. "Here. In Pittsburgh. Under Coach Darren James." The room stirred. That name meant something. Darren James had trained 2 national champions a decade ago before retiring suddenly. No one had heard from him since. Mike took a step back. "You're his kid?" Lauren shook her head. "No. I was his fighter. Junior Nationals, back in 2009. The room was silent again. But this silence was different. Heavier. Real. "You disappeared," Mike said, voice softer now. "They said you dropped out right before the finals. Everyone thought. I mean, they said you couldn't handle the pressure." "I didn't drop out," Lauren replied. "I left. My mom was dying. I chose her." The weight of that sentence dropped over the ring like a curtain. No one spoke. Travis was sitting now, glove off, mouth slightly open. Mike rubbed his chin, voice barely above a whisper. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I didn't come back for attention," she said. "I came back for me." Her words landed heavier than any punch. And just like that, every laugh, every insult, every dismissive glance, flashed back in the minds of everyone who'd mocked her. Lauren hadn't come to prove them wrong. She'd come to remember who she was. Mike nodded slowly. "You've still got it." "I never lost it," she said, eyes meeting his. Behind her, Travis finally stood, his pride bruised worse than his ribs. He looked at her differently now. Not as a joke. Not as a threat, but as a reckoning. He stepped forward and extended his hand, hesitant. Lauren looked at it, then shook it. "No hard feelings," Travis said. Lauren smiled faintly. "Only lessons." The gym slowly came back to life around them. Whispers turned to conversation. Jaws closed. Gloves untied. But something had shifted in that space. Lauren wasn't just some quiet woman who showed up out of nowhere. She was a fighter, one who had walked away from a dream to face life head-on and come back with nothing but willpower and silence as her weapons. And now, for the first time in years, the ring felt like hers again. As the crowd thinned and the moment began to settle into memory, Mike approached her one more time. "Listen," he said, "we've got regionals in 6 weeks. I got a spot open. If you want it, it's yours." Lauren didn't answer right away. Her gaze drifted to the far wall of the gym where an old photo of a championship team hung dusty and half-forgotten. Somewhere in the back of her mind, a door opened. "Let me think about it," she said. Mike nodded. "I hope you say yes." She didn't look at Travis again as she left the ring. She didn't need to. Outside, the sun was just starting to break through the gray clouds, streaking gold across the pavement. She walked out not as someone who had something to prove, but as someone who had nothing left to hide. And while everyone inside was still processing what they had witnessed, Lauren was already thinking about what came next. Because this story wasn't over. Not yet. Lauren didn't say yes immediately. After everything that had happened in that ring, after every silent stare and apology-laced glance from the people who once mocked her, she walked home without deciding. Not because she doubted herself, not anymore, but because for the first time in years, she realized she had options. She wasn't just reacting to life anymore. She was choosing. And that, more than any win, was power. Over the next few days, things at the gym shifted. Not all at once. The whispers didn't vanish, but they changed in tone, from mockery to curiosity. People began to ask her for tips during breaks. Even Bree, who had kept her distance out of ego, began watching Lauren's footwork and quietly adjusting her own in its shadow. Mike gave her space. He didn't push. He knew better now. The offer for regionals stood open, no pressure, just waiting. And Lauren kept showing up. Every day, training harder. Not for them, for herself. The girl who once wrapped her hands in silence had returned, but this time with a voice. Travis, too, changed. Humiliation can break a man or rebuild him. For Travis, it did both. He didn't disappear from the gym like some expected. He came back bruised but quieter, more focused. The smirk faded. The joke stopped. He approached his training with a different intensity, not just to recover his ego, but to confront something deeper, why he felt the need to mock others in the first place. One morning, after sparring with a newcomer, he walked up to Lauren while she shadowboxed in the corner. He didn't interrupt. He waited. And when she finally looked up, he said, "I watched your old fights. From the Nationals. You were incredible." She nodded, not out of pride, but acknowledgement. Travis took a breath. "I was an ass. I don't expect you to forget that. But I do want to say thanks. For showing me how full of it I was." She gave him a small, real smile. "Just keep showing up," she said, "that's the hard part." A few weeks later, Lauren stood under the dim lights of a small regional arena, her gloves tight, her name printed on the back of a hoodie someone had stitched for her in secret. The crowd wasn't huge, but the energy pulsed. Her opponent was faster, younger, louder. But Lauren had something else: control, patience, clarity. Every move she made was sharp. Each round, she outmaneuvered, outlasted. She didn't fight with rage or the need to prove anything anymore. She fought with truth. When the final bell rang, and the referee raised her hand, the applause felt like more than sound. It was release. Closure. A return. After the fight, Mike approached her, holding back that proud coach gleam in his eyes. That offer to train full-time, he said. Still stands. Could even see you on the coaching side. The younger ones already watch your every move. Lauren paused, wiping sweat from her brow, the crowd still buzzing behind her. I think I want that, she said. But not here. Mike raised a brow. She continued, there's a building 2 blocks from the diner. Empty. Cheap rent. I've been thinking of turning it into a space just for women. Not just fighters, women who need a space to feel strong again. Mike nodded slowly. You'll be great at it. And if you ever need anything, gear, help, just ask. For the first time in a long time, Lauren didn't feel like a visitor in someone else's world. She felt like she was building her own. She opened the gym 3 months later. Named it Second Wind. The first week, it was quiet. A couple of curious walk-ins. But word spread. Not about her win, not about the punch that dropped Travis, but about what she stood for. She welcomed women who had never thrown a punch in their lives. Mothers. Teachers. Women rebuilding after breakups, after layoffs, after things they couldn't name aloud. She trained them with patience. With the same silence that once protected her, but now carried strength. Some came just to feel their own breath again. Others stayed. A few, like Bree, even helped coach in the evenings. The community that once laughed at her now pointed to her as proof. That grit outlasts noise. That silence can carry fire. That dignity, even when denied, never truly disappears. As for Travis, he kept training. He entered smaller matches, worked on his endurance, and slowly built a reputation not for trash talk, but for heart. He volunteered on weekends with a youth program Mike had partnered with, teaching discipline to kids who needed guidance more than aggression. He never tried to rewrite the past, but he worked quietly to earn back what his pride had burned. Mike, reinvigorated by Lauren's story, began updating the gym. He cleaned out the back room, brought in new bags, even hired a therapist to work with the young fighters once a week, something he would have laughed at before. He started seeing the gym not just as a battleground, but as a bridge. And his respect for Lauren only grew with time. Years later, a journalist interviewed Lauren for a local magazine. The article titled her, "The Fighter Who Never Bragged." When asked what moment defined her return, she didn't mention the punch. Or the win. She said, "It was the day I stopped hiding. Not from others. From myself." And that was the truth. Because Lauren's victory wasn't in the knockout. It wasn't in the hand raised by the referee or the applause that followed. It was in the quiet morning hours, alone in her new gym, watching a woman who looked like she once did step up to a bag for the first time, shaking, unsure, and decide to hit it anyway. That's where the real fight lives. In the moment you stop believing the lies told about you. In the decision to keep moving, even if no one claps. In reclaiming the parts of yourself that life tried to bury. So now, let me ask you something. Have you ever been underestimated? Silenced? Laughed at when all you wanted was a chance? Maybe you felt like Lauren, out of place, out of rhythm, carrying something no one else could see. But what if your silence wasn't weakness? What if it was storing strength? Because sometimes, the people who say the least are the ones who've lived the most. And when their moment finally comes, they don't need to shout. They just need one clean hit. So if this story moved something inside you, if it made you think of your own second wind, your own comeback waiting to happen, then don't let it end here. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what you would have done. Or what you will do next. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Hope Threads. Because stories like this, stories of resilience, of quiet fire, of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, they deserve to be told. And more than that, they deserve to be heard. We'll see you in the next story.